Thanks for joining us on Plus TV Africa. I am Felicity Ezewike. President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, has called for sanctions on personnel of security agencies that act outside their constitutional mandate. Dr. Saraki was speaking to newsmen at a world press briefing on the recent siege of the National Assembly, calls the act undemocratic and an attempt to change the leadership of the Senate via unconstitutional means. Our correspondent Amadine Uyi is there, who will bring us reports in a subsequent bulletin. Reactions continue to trail the invasion of the National Assembly, and most recently, Lagos State People's Democratic Party Publicity Secretary Taofeek Gani has added his voice. In his reaction over a telephone interview, he described the development as a dent on the nation's democracy. Mr. Gani believes these are political gimmicks playing out due to the recent defection of the President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, among other political actors from the ruling All Progressive Congress. He added that it is a desperate attempt to hold on to power ahead of 2019 primaries and general elections.
They are embarrassing not only him, they are embarrassing the President, they are embarrassing the nation. If you want to, President, it was obvious that Senator Bukola Saraki was going to top the APC because he was seriously humiliated, and if not for the just judiciary, he probably would be in jail now. So all this why you didn't muster enough support that can impeach him, then what you want to resort to is after he has defected, you now want to go and use probably less than 20 senators to impeach the Senate President. And so it's also something that is very worrisome. What I know is that all this is just point to the fact that they want to get rid of Senator Bukola Saraki, and of course, Senator Ekweremadu, which they had never been comfortable with, and they will also extend to the House of Reps, do the same thing on Dugara and Lasu, and then don't be surprised that even judges now will be moved, will be arrested, sitting in their courtroom. Because these are a bunch of persons who I think never even fought for this democracy.
The presidency has affirmed that acting President Yemi Osibanjo fired the former Director General of the Department of State Services, Lawal Daura, with the knowledge of President Muhammadu Buhari. His appointment was terminated on Tuesday following the siege laid by personnel of the DSS on the National Assembly. Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, disclosed this to State House correspondents after the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council presided over by Osibanjo. He said, and I quote, "The presidency is one. Whenever the president is proceeding on vacation, he transmits power to the vice president, who becomes the acting president," end of quote. 6 members of the Kano State House of Assembly on Wednesday announced their defection from the ruling All Progressive Congress APC to the People's Democratic Party PDP. The decamped lawmakers represent Gwazo, Kwale, Gezawa, Rogo, Madobi and Bichi local government areas of Kano State. On Tuesday, a former special advisor attached to the Deputy Governor's office at the State Government House, Hafiz Ahmed Bichi, who is among the 10 senior special advisors that tendered their resignation letters on Monday, revealed that 10 senior special assistants and the 6 lawmakers have concluded plans to defect and are even lobbying more of their colleagues. He revealed that their actions is because of the unresolved dispute between the state governor, Abdullahi Ganduje, and his predecessor, Rabiu Kwangwaso. An Osun State High Court sitting in Osogbo, Nigeria, presided over by Justice David Oladimeji, Wednesday dismissed the suit challenging the eligibility of Ademola Adeleke, governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the September 22 gubernatorial poll, declaring that it lacked merit. The plaintiffs had approached the court with a sworn affidavit arguing that Senator Adeleke did not possess a certificate as required by Section 177D of the 1999 Constitution and urged the court to set aside the July 21st, 2018 primary election, which produced him as the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the state. Delivering his ruling, Justice Oladimeji held that the plaintiffs have admitted that the first defendant attended Ede Muslim High School but failed to address forgery. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has frozen the account of the Benue State government. The anti-graft agency gave the order last night. This development comes shortly after the governor, Otim, defected to the All Progressive Congress of the People's Democratic Party. Tavez Akasa, Chief Press Secretary to the governor, Samuel Otim, confirmed to journalists today. Meanwhile, mental health in Nigeria has been a major topic of discussion but has not gotten a lot more attention, good enough to tackle the problem. According to recent statistics, Nigeria has 21 million people living with mental disorder. The neglect to address the problem has direct bearing in the growth of people suffering from mental illness. Social factors such as economic downturn, which paves the way for depression and in some cases suicide, are one of the many reasons why people suffer silently. Plus TV Africa's Amaka Okoye was at one of such events and now reports.
Following different media reports on suicide and depression cases on the high rise in Nigeria, schools, government parastatals and non-governmental organizations have stepped up in campaigns for a healthy nation and a call for action. Summer Camp Nigeria Studio participated in a walk showing the general public, especially children and young people, to choose to live.
The essence of today's work was basically to tell the government about the suicide and depression amongst young people in Nigeria, to educate people so that they can know the importance of their lives, so that they will stop committing suicide.
It is believed that there are different challenges that could make a person become suicidal or depressed, and in extreme cases leading to one form of mental disorder or the other. Sadly, this situation is not talked about most times due to certain beliefs and stigma attached to it.
A lot of people, associate mental health diseases or disorders as spiritual issues, and that's what we're trying to curb. We've come a long way as a group to push against this stigma, but there's still a lot more to do.
The Lagos state government has not been left out in the efforts to combat the war against such situation. Speaking to Summer Camp Nigeria, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, highlights the government's role to curb the menace through an all-round education system.
If you look at our curriculum, it is not new. It has always been there. All the children, they have need for one thing or the other. We have something that we call aptitude test. We conduct it every year for our students. We get their mental balance. We get their focus. We get their career of what they could and should do in future. So government is interested and government is doing a whole lot of work on our children concerning their career development, mental balance, emotional intelligence. The
goal, however, is to have a safer society where such challenge will be a thing of the past. Amaka Okoye, Plus TV Africa.
We'll take a quick break. Stay tuned for more news when we return. Government spokesman Lambert Mende has said that the candidate to represent Democratic Republic of Congo, President Joseph Kabila's ruling coalition in a presidential election in December, will be announced in the coming hours. Mr. Mende's statement followed a meeting between Kabila and coalition members at his farm outside the capital, Kinshasa. Candidates have until Wednesday afternoon to register with the National Electoral Commission. Joseph Kabila, who has been in power since 2001, is barred by term limits from running for re-election, but has refused to commit publicly to not standing. This has raised fears he might do so anyway, which risks throwing the volatile Central African country into chaos. 9 confirmed Ebola victims have died since the virus resurfaced in the Democratic Republic of Congo this month. The country's health ministry said Tuesday. The previous official toll was 7 dead, with the 2 latest victims, like all the others, registered in the Beni region in North Kivu province, an eastern region with deep security problems, which shares borders with Uganda and Rwanda. 33 people died in an outbreak in the northwest, which was only declared over at the end of July. Zimbabwe's Movement for Democratic Change, MDC, on Wednesday confirmed it would launch a legal challenge to President Emmerson Mnangagwa's narrow election victory, which it says was due to fraud. Those results represent a total negation of the will of the people, MDC lawyer Tabani Mpofu told reporters. The election results made by Zimbabwe Electoral Commission will be challenged. Mr. Mpofu declines to give the date when the legal case will be lodged, which is set to delay Mnangagwa's inauguration. Under Zimbabwean law, the deadline for filing the challenge is Friday. The Constitutional Court must rule on the petition within 14 days. An Egyptian politician has called for a referendum on President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's government. Massoum Mazouk, a former diplomat, announced a roadmap this week, including the suspension of the constitution and the dissolution of parliament if the Egyptians vote against the government. He says if the government does not respond positively to his initiative, a popular conference would be held in Cairo's Tahrir Square, epicenter of the 2011 uprising on August 31. When we return, we will bring you updates from the foreign scene and more stories. Do stay with us. Chinese investigators said they have recalled faulty vaccines produced by the company Changsheng Biotechnology, some of which have been sold abroad. The vaccine scandal that is believed to have affected hundreds of thousands of children in China is now spreading overseas, according to a statement available Wednesday on the National Health Commission's website. According to investigators, Changsheng seriously violated production and quality management protocols in making its rabies vaccine. Some batches are mixed up with expired solutions, and the date and batch number are not accurate, the Commission said. The Commission did not specify which countries the faulty vaccines have been sold to. And from India, we hear they have ordered the inspection of at least 9,000 shelters for abandoned and orphaned children after a wave of sex abuse scandals shocked the country. Maneka Gandhi, the country's Women and Child Development Minister, told the Indian Express newspaper in an interview published Wednesday that the probe would include background checks on the owners and managers of homes. Authorities have been jolted into action after reports this month uncovered the sexual abuse of more than 30 girls at a state-funded shelter in Bihar state. Police this week detained 5 people over alleged abuse at a shelter in Uttar Pradesh state, where 24 girls were rescued after one escaped to tell investigators of mistreatment at the home. Up next is our business reports with Edidion Iwang.
And on business news, the Central Bank of Nigeria has injected the sum of $210 million into the interbank foreign exchange market to ensure the availability of forex and also meet customers' requests in various segments of the market. A statement revealed that the central bank has offered $100 million to authorized dealers in the wholesale segment of the market, while the small and medium-scale enterprises segment received the sum of $55 million. Customers requiring foreign exchange for invisibles such as tuition fees, medical payments, and basic travel allowance, among others, were also allocated the sum of $55 million. The implementation of the newly approved conditions for accessing loans from the National Housing Fund has commenced by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. It involves a zero equity contribution policy for the housing loans of up to 5 million naira, while housing loans between 5 million naira and 15 million naira will require a 10% contribution to the NHF. The reworked requirements recently approved by the board of FMBN represent a 100% reduction in the equity that contributors were expected to bring before being able to access loans, such as the 5% and 20% for the two loan bands. The president of the Africa Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina, has sought that farmers across the continent be given access to new technologies to transform agricultural production and intensify processing. The FDB president is advocating for the creation of staple crops processing zones across Africa, vast areas within rural areas set aside and managed for agri-businesses and food manufacturing industries and other agro-allied industries. The AFDB is currently working with the World Bank, the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to mobilize $1 billion to scale up agricultural technologies across Africa under a new initiative called Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation. Well, that's it on business news. I'm Edidiong Iwang, but still to come on Plus TV Africa News is our roundup on entertainment and sports. We'll be back in a moment.
And in entertainment, popular Nigerian singer D'banj, who lost his son through a swimming pool mishap recently, has finally released a new song, which he dedicates to his wife. The music star unveiled a snippet of the song on his Instagram page on Wednesday, the 8th of August 2018. D'banj captioned the post with, "Together we will pass every test that we pass through." It will be recalled that just last week, the singer shared via his Instagram page the challenges and trying times his family has experienced over the loss of his son. He used the medium to thank everyone for his support as he mourns his son. Nigerian dancer and pop star Peter Okoye has renewed his contract for the 4th time with Olympic Milk as brand ambassador. The 36-year-old shared photos from the event and posted, "Thankful for the opportunity to continue working with a brand that cares." Meanwhile, Okoye also recently shared photos of his mind-blowing exotic cars and mansion to inspire members of the public on reaching and attaining their goals. South African musician and politician Eric Nkovani, popularly known as Papa Penny, has reacted to allegations suggesting he is broke. The allegations came following an incident where a series of messages were sent from his phone number soliciting for cash in his name. Papa Penny spoke to newsmen recently saying his phone number was hacked and can't imagine how it was attained in the first place. You will also recall that a similar incident had happened to the Goldbone hitmaker 2 years ago, when his email was hacked and the fraudsters were asking the singer's contacts for funds. Former Spice Girl and America's Got Talent judge Mel B has finalized her divorce from estranged husband Stephen Belafonte. The 43-year-old has been ordered by a Los Angeles judge to pay $350,000 of Belafonte's legal fees, as well as $5,000 per month in child support. The pair separated in 2017 following the accusation that Belafonte was physically and emotionally abusive towards Mel B and her children. Allegations which he denied and were dropped during the court case. The judge gave out a restraining order on both parties except for their daughter's school events after they decided to share custody. And that's it on entertainment, the very best in sports, right after this.
Hello and welcome to Sports Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Maron Folukufeji with the biggest stories in the world of sports. Newly promoted Premier League club Wolves have completed the signing of Middlesbrough winger Adama Traore for a club record fee of £18 million on a 5-year deal. The Spaniard came through the ranks at Barcelona and made one La Liga appearance for the club before he moved to Aston Villa in the summer of 2015. He played 11 times for Villa in his debut season in England before joining Borough ahead of the 2016-2017 campaign. The 22-year-old made 40 appearances for Borough last season, scoring 5 goals as they reached the Championship playoffs. He also won Middlesbrough Player of the Season award last season and becomes Nuno Espirito Santo's 5th signing of the summer. Sad news in athletics as former world 400-meter hurdles champion Nicholas Bett has died in a car crash in his home country of Kenya early Wednesday morning. The athlete was said to have died at the scene in Anadi County after the car he was driving veered off the road and landed in a ditch. He was on his way home to Nairobi from the African Athletic Championships in Nigeria, which finished on Monday. The 28-year-old made history at the 2015 Beijing World Championships when he became the first Kenyan to win a World Championship gold medal at a distance shorter than 800 meters. Bett has a twin brother, Haron Koech, who is also a hurdler. And finally, in tennis, former world number 1 Novak Djokovic began his bid for a 5th Rogers Cup crown with a straight-set 6-3, 7-6 victory over Bosnia's Mirza Basic. The current Wimbledon champion will now face Canada's Peter Polansky in the second round. Elsewhere, wildcard Stan Wawrinka beat 16th seed Nick Kyrgios 1-6, 7-5, 7-5, and Kei Nishikori lost to Robin Haase. That's it on Sports Update. I'm Maureen Folukufeji.
And that's our news roundup of events at this hour. For more news updates, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube page at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with more stories making the headlines. Do join us again. My name is Felicity Ezewike. Thank you so much for watching.